right. What is up? Monday Night Football, as always, doing another betting live stream pregame, hosted by myself, joined as always every Monday by Bridget Case. Bridget, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. It was a rough Eagles game yesterday, but that's okay.
Oh
It
my gosh.
happens. That was the 49ers.
I felt for you. Everyone has to have that game.
Exactly. And that was the 49ers Super Bowl. They cried for 10 straight months after losing an NFC Championship. Right. Congratulations. They won the Super Bowl in week 13. We'll move on. If the Eagles beat the Cowboys on Sunday, then we're all good. But regardless, that's not what we're talking about. We got Bengals versus Jaguars, which was going to be an awesome game before Joe Burrow got hurt. Of course, it's the total bummer. Gavin, it's no Dawn report, but let's get this money. I appreciate that. I'm just known as the Dawn guy during baseball season. So yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, got to stick with me. Justin, Credible Fantasy. Also, that's a great name, Justin Credible Fantasy.
It's so good.
That's a great name. Yeah, it's okay. Eagles lost. It happens. Honestly, it was better that they got blown out because by the second half, you're just kind of over it. You're like, all right, well, they got smoked and that's fine. Like losing a close game, I think is worse because you have hope.
Yes. And I suffered that with my Ducks this weekend.
I believe it. Oh, because when you're down big and then you come back and take the lead, you're just like, heck yeah, we're going to do it. I totally get that.
I'm still not over it. And I mean, I at that point, it's like, it's so funny when it's your team. It's like, you don't even care that your parlays aren't going to hit.
Oh yeah.
But, like, you're just so sad. Oh my God. It's like, it's those games, man. Yeah. So I'm struggling a bit. So I'm dealing with the hangover from Friday for sure for Pac-12.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. It is funny when like you're like sweating out whatever you have, and then you're rooting for your team and you suddenly don't care about any of your bets.
Yeah.
You're like, none of this stuff matters. I just want them to win. Like I would give any amount of money. Like I would give any amount of money for my team to just win this game. But
exactly.
Anyway, so yeah, if we have any Bengals or Jaguars fans in the chat, hit us up. I'm guessing probably not. Regardless, Bengals, Jaguars, not the best game in the world. As you can see on the screen here, Jags, if you want to bet them, -9.5. You can also get that at FanDuel at -9.5 at -118. It's best offered. It's actually best offered now at -113 at Sporttrade, but Sporttrade's only in Colorado and New Jersey, so not a lot of people have access to that. Majority of books have it at +10. It's +10 pretty much across the board.
Yeah.
I guess -109 at BetSafe. I'm not sure where that's even legal, but anywhere else you're getting it at +10. So over under 40.5, super low. So yeah, in terms of main lines, total, spread, money line, whatever, what do you like in this one?
I actually, I just went backwards. I'm actually taking the Jags to cover here. I was looking initially at, I was a little bit unsure when I saw most of the spreads at 10. Like I like though getting -9.5 on FanDuel, because then, you're totally covered if you have a touchdown and a field goal. So I like them to cover here. See, Justin Credible got them at 8.5. If you can go find them at 8.5.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Perfect.
That's good.
And I'm usually somebody who's I like to look for a little bit more plus money, but here I think the Jags will have no problem covering easily. Trevor Lawrence is finding his stride. It's at home. Jags have a thing about winning at home, mostly in divisional games. But again, I just think this is not the same Bengals team we're used to. So I don't think it's going to be incredibly high scoring. I was looking at the over under a little bit, but I'm more so just like the spread here.
Yeah, the total is just like I didn't really have anything for the total. I just completely sat it out. I agree with you. I took the Jags -9.5 last night. I would still take them now. It's actually -114 at FanDuel now. So you're getting it pretty close to just even -110 odds.
Basically pick them almost.
Yeah. And the Jags, like they have some like weird games where they kind of have clunkers and you don't really know what's going on. Like at the beginning of the year, they got smoked by the Texans, who I guess we realize now are good. But they have a 10-point victory over the Colts, 16-point victory over the Jags, another 17-point victory over the Colts, 10 over the Steelers, 20 over the Titans. Like they can blow teams out. They even beat the Bills in a game where they pretty much dominated that game. So they're not shy to blow teams out. The Bengals, they just don't have it without Joe Burrow. Like there's not really else to say. Even though like Browning, I just don't buy it with him. I don't think he's good at all.
I watched a lot of his college games, him being a Washington
Washington,
guy,
yeah.
and he's one of those quarterbacks who's got it in college and can win those big games in college, but when it comes to NFL, it just doesn't convert. And so I think he spent too much time as a backup also, that like right now is not the time where he's even gonna blossom. I think it is so funny right now because we are seeing like it is the year of the backup quarterbacks.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And it is funny because with that, usually I would like be a little bit more interested in, like looking if I don't know. It's a weird year. And so I'm just nervous for the Bengals, even though they have great offensive weapons and Jamar Chase is just, when he's healthy, he's so good. You know, it's not the same. It's not the same. I mean,
Yeah. Not with Joe
seen
Burrow.
this, like a backup come in. Like I think of like my best example of this is like Gardner Minshew coming in now,
Yeah.
and he's targeting Michael Pittman all the time, and Pittman wasn't necessarily getting the same sort of attention with Anthony Richardson initially, and like Gardner Minshew suddenly is giving us enough to figure out how to bet. So I'm just still not there yet with Jake Browning, and yeah.
Yeah, and this is Jake Browning's like first time ever starting.
Right.
Gardner
Totally.
Minshew's played a ton in his career.
Yeah.
So he's not shy to come in and just sling
Right.
it. Jake Browning,
We know what we're gonna get. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And even outside of the offense, like I was looking it up, their Bengals offense is 13th in DVOA. Obviously, that's going to be 90% of the time. That's with Joe Burrow. That's going to go down. But their defense is 27th. Like he's not lining up at line. Like Joe Burrow
No.
doesn't affect the defense. So
Yeah.
their defense is bad. Their offense is going to be bad without Joe Burrow. Like I think I haven't looked at their schedule. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't win a game the rest of the year. Like it's just going to be one of those years where the quarterback goes down and it's just a season from hell. Like we've seen it happen to good teams in the past. Like look,
oh my gosh,
the 49ers have been good for the past couple of years, but look at how they would do previously when Jimmy G got hurt. Like they had horrible seasons to start Kyle Shanahan's career in San Francisco. They were terrible.
Well, even look at this year, how much they struggled without Debo when he was hurt.
Yeah, the three games.
And that's not a quarterback, but just one of your offensive weapons when you think it's a team that's so stacked. I mean,
you lose one. Yeah, exactly. So I think, I was looking ahead. I bet the Bengals against the Colts. I bet the Colts against the Bengals next week because they play next week. Because I just think that after this game, I think that people are going to realize how bad the Bengals are and the lines are going to adjust. So I wanted to get in on that early.
Right.
So long story short,
caught up yet. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And like last week was a close game against the Steelers because the Steelers offense is brutal. And Jake Browning had two, and this is part of one of my player props, but Jamar Chase had 81 yards, which doesn't look bad on the surface, but two of those, I don't know if you saw, were thrown like just balls that got batted in the air that he just happened to get under. It's like that's not how the play was designed. It's not something you can you can rely on moving forward. So yeah, Justin got the total at 37.5. If you took the over, I mean, from an EV perspective, that's solid. Like the total, you beat the total where it's currently at by 4 points. I don't think a lot of points are going to be scored in this one, but from a strictly EV perspective, that's a good price. Anything else from the main lines on this one, or just basically both on the Jags?
I think we're both on the Jags. Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, moving on. Player props. I have a couple. I have my favorite anytime touchdown, and a couple regular ones, but I'll let you get started. However you want to take it, yards, props, or touchdowns, whatever.
I was going to say, I'm going to start with kind of a weird one. I know I was just kind of like hating on Jake Browning for a minute. But I actually do like Jake Browning rushing yards. It has gone up a little bit, but if you can get it under, if you can get it at 13.5, 14.5, 15, I'm going up to 15.5. That's like my max. I like Jake Browning over on rushing yards. I think that the Jags, I mean, like what was it last week? They let CJ Stroud just run wild. And he picked up quite a bit of yards. I think like almost like 50. I think he picked up like almost 50 yards, but the Jags have
ran a lot.
Yeah, they've allowed almost 20 rushing yards per game to quarterbacks, which I know, again, like Jake Browning only had 9 rushing yards against Pittsburgh, but again, that's Pittsburgh with a healthy defense. They're good. Against Baltimore, he had 40. So I honestly, with him just kind of finding his way, I expect him to use his legs, and I like it. Right now, I've got it on FanDuel over 15.5 at -110. But again, if you can find it elsewhere a little bit lower, I've seen, Yeah, I was going to say Miki. There you go, 14.5. And on that one, that particular platform's
that you can't say.
Main competitor, it's actually also at 13.5. So I would go check that out.
Yeah, I would price shop because I see it at 12.5
Yeah.
at some places.
Yeah. So if you can get that at 12.5, beautiful. And I think that's like the perfect example of, okay, FanDuel has it priced high. Like he's expected. I expect him to hit that. And he might not, run as much as Stroud did. But I think he'll get over that, even just with like 2. It could happen. I mean, it could happen in 1.
Yeah,
But yeah. So I like his over on rushing attempts. That's kind of my weird one. And then my like favorite my favorite player prop like to always go to is always receptions. And I'm not on like I'm not crazy about a ton of alternate lines today, but something that did stand out to me was Christian Kirk over 4.5 receptions, and that's you're getting plus money at plus 118. He's hit over this, I think, every week except the first week against the Colts. So I have a hard time. Trevor Lawrence is like good about finding different targets all over the place, and I like the money here. Yeah. Ingram too. I was looking at that. There's just, I don't think there's as much. I would almost take an Evan Ingram alternate line, but that's why I like Christian Kirk. It's 4.5. His main line is at 4.5 at plus 118. So especially if you pair that up with something, I think he's gonna hit that pretty easily. That's one of my main receptions. I actually have 2. I think I have 2. Yeah. And elsewhere, that's the thing. A lot of other books, I've seen it just at 4. He hit 4 last week. So, yeah, 4 last week, 3 against Tennessee, 6 against the San Francisco defense. So I like him to hit over this pretty easily. Sorry. I'm still getting over this cold.
You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Evan Ingram one was one of my plays. So I locked it in yesterday at plus 110. It's now currently best offered at minus 135. And
on FanDuel, it's minus 174.
Minus 174. So that is an insane price jump from where I got it at versus where it is now. Good CLV there. I will say I would still take it at minus 135. If you price shop, you can find it at minus 135. It's still
sorry to interrupt, but I just saw on that one book that I was saying that had it at 13.5. It just jumped at 15.5. So I'm for Jake Browning rushing yards. So go get it right now before the books do that. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. No, you're good. No, please.
Got an alert.
Yeah, so it is still offered at minus 135. If you price shop, you can find it there. I still like Evan Ingram. I knew I wanted to target, like in general, I like targeting tight ends against the Bengals because their defense against tight ends specifically is terrible. Last week, they gave up 9 receptions and 120 yards to Pat Freiermuth. He literally doubled his receiving yards basically in that game. Like he hasn't done anything outside of that, and he didn't do anything last game. Like the week before that was the Mark Andrews injury, so that doesn't count. The week before that, 71 yards to Dalton Schultz. The week before that, 10 receptions, 81 yards to Kincaid. The week before that, 9 receptions, 149 yards to George Kittle. So they just struggle against the tight end. I'm also on him anytime touchdown. Okay. This one is a little bit scarier. Like I love the receptions prop. I love that one. The anytime touchdown is a little bit scarier. So I locked it in at 290 at FanDuel. It's currently at 260 at FanDuel, and it's 270 at another book. He hasn't scored yet this year. So there's definitely some concern there, but because
of how happen sometime.
Exactly. It's got to happen sometime. And because of how bad the Bengals are against the tight end, I think it could be this game. And in general, like the output he's had over 4.5 receptions in 8 of 11 games. Like he's getting a ton of work, not a ton of yardage and no touchdowns, which is why from a fantasy perspective, it's not looking as good, or he's not looking as good this year as he was last year. It's really just yards and touchdowns. His targets and his receptions are the exact same. And unfortunately to Justin Credible, I'm actually on Jamar Chase's under. So I locked him in under 47.5 at FanDuel. I'm not sure where he's offered now, if that line has moved one way or another. I can look that up real quick. I hinted at it before. Yeah. So it's actually has moved up. So I got a CLV L there. It's currently 60.5 at FanDuel. So I got a W on the Evan Ingram one, L here. But my logic is we think Jake Browning stinks. And I think that people are going to overinflate Jamar Chase getting 81 yards last week because of those 2 tip balls.
Yep.
So I'm expecting him to not perform well. That's really my only logic there.
No, I'm with you. I'm staying away from him almost completely, except for just again with the Browning pairing. But I'm only on him for an anytime touchdown because I see there's some decent value and he has been a solid scorer in games past where obviously yes, where he's comfortable with Burrow, but it's at plus 240 right now. That's honestly like my only anytime touchdown that I like love and see a ton there. That I'm like staying away from other Jamar Chase props is my point.
Yeah, not expecting a ton of touchdowns in this one. Yeah. Question about Evan Ingram, massive. I don't think that there's any news about someone getting injured. I think that what just happened is like people just kind of looked into the same analysis that I did and found that the Bengals are terrible against tight ends and that Evan Ingram had cleared it in 8 of 11 games. So it's just like a very easy comparison to put that together.
It might be getting confused with the Travis Etienne possible injury.
But he's playing.
Not injury. Like maybe his workload might be a little bit limited, possibly. Yeah.
Question here about Lawrence completions. I haven't looked into this one. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
I do. This is actually one of those weird, like, I don't have a ton of great logic to it, but it usually just comes through for me. Trevor Lawrence completions, like, is actually, that's actually a line I take pretty often. He had 23 last week, 24 the week prior. Again, those were against Houston and Tennessee. So, big divisional games, 24 against that Pittsburgh defense. He's hit this pretty consistently for most of the season. And I actually really like that it's at, I just had it up. It's minus 102 on FanDuel at over 21.5. And I've actually seen it elsewhere at just 21 flat and at 20.5. So if you like, okay, Miki, you have it at 20.5. So I have seen it up a little bit higher. So I do like the I do like the over and Trevor Lawrence pass completions. That's actually one that I've taken pretty consistently, and there's no like great logic to it. It's just that it usually hits for
me. I think that's, I mean, it winning for you consistently is pretty good logic. Yeah. I mean, just looking at his stats. So 21.5, he's hit in 8 of 11 games this year. He only missed it in 3. In 2 of the games he missed, he had exactly 20. So right around the number. And then the other game was against San Francisco when they got smoked. So even in games in which they're blowing teams out, which we are both expecting in this game, he's still gone over it pretty consistently. So I like that. I am probably going to ride with the Trevor Lawrence completions one.
I will say what I was doing like earlier in the season, because it was last year, earlier this year. I'm confusing so much, but I used to take him on passing touchdowns a lot, seemingly, and so I started to notice the difference. Obviously, like that's just not been as consistent this year. And he's getting help otherwise to find the end zone. So I love like pass completions. And that's kind of when I switched over. There are like certain quarterbacks where I'll do that and there's no good logic. And I don't ever like put this out there because there's no logic to it. It's just my kind of like little weird bubble of, this seemingly is hitting week after. It's kind of like the Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, that one hurts,
it every week. Because it hits and like
it's gonna hit,
sometimes it's not going to, but there are a couple quarterbacks that have been pretty consistent on weird things like that, and so I completely have stayed away from passing touchdown lines and just went with completions. So there's I don't have like great logic to it, and I'm not even looking for the logic. It just happens, and I'm gonna let it just
I mean, like I feel like some of those niche markets you can find more value in, like this late in the game for a main line, everything's been smashed and the lines are so sharp at this point. But for like passing completions and like rushing attempts, you can find a lot of value.
I feel like they're so behind sometimes. Like I feel that way with Josh Allen. He often will hit pass completions for me and then some and rushing yards weirdly. Like I mean, it's been a kind of a weird year, but yeah, especially with those quarterbacks, because I feel like everyone is so focused on passing yards and touchdowns and I don't know, interceptions. Like I feel like the pass completions gets left behind. Even passing attempts, like a lot. I don't
Yeah.
know. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really is just the books move their lines based on action. And if they're markets
Right.
that people don't have action on, then they're not going to move. So yeah, you can definitely find some value there. It's like basically with NFL for main markets, if you're not getting it early in the week, you're probably not going to get like
Exactly.
positive CLV. But for
Yep.
alternate markets and random player props, yeah. A couple comments that I wanted to get to. I don't know about the Trevor Lawrence rushing yards. I just looked it up. FanDuel has it at 16.5.
Yep.
Everywhere else, it's 15.5 and even down to 13.5. Granted, that over 13.5 is minus 130 odds. I would probably sit this one out. Like if he's able to dice them up passing the ball, he's just not going to need to run it a lot. He does have some games like 59 yards against New Orleans, 31 against Buffalo, 42 doesn't list the game against, that was Atlanta. So he does have games where he's hit it, obviously. I would probably stay away. Like he's hit it in one of his last 3. And last week against Houston, he had 0 because he had so much success through the air, which I think is kind of the concern here.
Yeah.
ETN anytime touchdown is probably the best bet on the board, not from an odds perspective, just from like, is this going to hit perspective? He's minus 150.
Or if you're playing DFS and on a DFS platform,
there you go.
Or pick'em style, I would say that's where you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. I can't use any of those in Colorado, but that's a great point. If
that's
it is
so
that's all you can do in California. So yeah. That makes sense. 7-point teaser. Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to cover the 9.5. So if you tease that down to 2.5, absolutely. And then I would look for something for Sunday to tease it. Like if you want to tease the Colts, who I like against the Bengals, if you want to tease, I like the Bills to beat the Chiefs straight up. But if you want to tease that spread and get it a little bit closer, you can do that. Stuff like that, I think, is a good idea. But yeah, I mean, my 3 plays were Ingram receptions, Ingram touchdown, and Jamar Chase under receiving yards. Do you have anything else that
you know what?
talked about?
It's okay. So something else like I sprinkled I would sprinkle a little bit. I don't think you can combine. You can't necessarily put it in the same parlay, but if you are looking at kickers, I do like Evan McPherson total kicking points. I think it's still at, let me see, is it still sits at 6.5 right now, at plus 108. I feel like if the Bengals aren't scoring a ton of touchdowns, if they can get down to the red zone and kick a couple field goals, there is value here. I wouldn't put like a ton on it because, again, I don't think this is going to be a crazy high-scoring game, but I wouldn't be surprised if he hits 2 field goals. So I actually don't even know what let me check.
Yeah, 2 field goals and an extra point, and you're like, that's 13.
Like,
that's 13 points.
Oh, they don't offer okay. But if you can find, I will say there are some places that do offer like basically over 1.5 field goals. There is some especially if you're on a pick'em platform, there's a possibility there. But I just like that you're getting a little bit of plus money, and especially if they're having to use the field goal attempts a lot because if Jake Browning can't make it happen. So yeah,
I think that makes sense. Last comment. I mean, the Jags are good. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm sure you got really good value, and I'm sure you could probably cash out for positive value. But they're not going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think they're good enough to win the Super Bowl. It's kind of I like the Ravens are better.
Weird year. I will just say that it's a really weird year.
It is a weird year. I mean, everybody. If every quarterback keeps going down, then they have a chance.
Like I'm so lost. I have no idea.
But
really who we're gonna see. But that's kind of awesome. I kind of love that.
It's not like last year where like clearly the Chiefs were the best team and clearly the Eagles were the best team. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Jags, they put up. I don't think they scored an offensive touchdown against the Chiefs. They lost 34-3 to the Jaguars. Like I just think that when they play an actual good team, they just show that they're not good enough. But
I need to double check again. I'm like, are they on top of the AFC? No, they're third. I have to check again.
I think the Dolphins. I was looking at I think the Dolphins are technically number 1 because the Ravens lost.
Right, and the Chiefs lost.
And the Chiefs lost. Yeah, the Chiefs are definitely not anymore, especially after last night.
I will say that's all I want to see. I just don't want to see the Chiefs number 1 again and it would buy. I want to see them like sweat. I want to see them have to work.
Yeah. Let's see. So the Dolphins are currently the 1 seed in the AFC, and the Eagles are the 1 seed in the NFC. But the Eagles lose to the Cowboys, then everything's going to change. And the Dolphins have a tough schedule too. And so like the 49ers and Ravens play this year, like they're going to, what's currently the standings is not what it's going to be at the end of the year.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I don't have anything else for this game. I don't know if you do. It's pretty boring.
Yeah, I know. Not too exciting. Either.
Not the best game in the world. Have you seen Thursday Night Football this week? If you want to talk about boring, that's why.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why am I'm blanking? Is this a Steelers game? Are Steelers playing?
Steelers with Mitch Trubisky against the Patriots.
Thank you, Patriots. I was like, oh my gosh.
And I think the Patriots have lost 3 straight games while not allowing double-digit points. I think I saw that stat.
That is what's wild. It's crazy. Like against my Chargers yesterday, I will say they're figuring out a way to at least like preserve themselves ish on defense.
I mean, Patriots 3 weeks ago lost to the Colts 10-6. Patriots 2 weeks ago lost to the Giants 10-7. Yesterday lost to the Chargers 6-0. And now we have them against the Steelers with no Kenny Pickett, who we realize is a lot better than Mitch Trubisky.
Oh my gosh.
Bet the under and no touchdowns to be scored and leave it be. I think that's pretty good advice.
Yeah.
And
Is that, I actually don't know. Is that game in Foxborough?
It is going to be, no, it's in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I saw the over under is like 30. It's like, it's bad. Yeah, the over under is 30 at most places, 38.5 at FanDuel, and 31.5 if you are at Sport Trade. So
there was something really funny that Mitch Trubisky did yesterday. I'm trying to remember what the play was. There was something that happened and it was just like,
I could probably say I did not watch a second of that game. Also, the rain delay made it weird. Like whenever, I didn't know what was going on, and then there's 2 long rain delays, and then
so weird. I only know because I have Red Zone on all day while I'm streaming, so I see those plays. Yeah, it's and I was gonna say who on the Eagles just got absolutely juked in the fourth quarter.
I mean, what's the linebacker got?
It was like one where it was like you heard it, like it looked like a cartoon.
It was
Swift?
No, you mean Swift got trucked on
he
on
did?
the crossing.
When did...
they're Brandon on the touchdown to, I think Juwan Jennings is his name.
God, I have to look. Oh, Juwan Jennings, yeah.
It was he stiff-armed Eli Ricks, just sent him into outer space.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that one. That
and then later it was Swift. Oh, you're right. And then
Smith got rocked. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Anytime touchdown for Trevor Lawrence, I looked this up real quick. He's plus 330. So the odds are there. Again, he scored. I mean, I guess he has scored in the last 2 games, and after not scoring in the first 9, I wouldn't chase that. Yeah, it was Eli Ricks. Yeah, he was an undrafted free agent for the Eagles. Just got totally punished. But anyways, all right, cool. Well, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Pretty active chat, which is always nice. Bridget, thank you as always for joining me on Monday. Eventually, we're going to get some good games on Monday. Hopefully, I know we had Chiefs Eagles a couple weeks ago. Thursday night, Monday night, all these games are gross. They always save the best games for Sunday night. Outside of I guess last night wasn't bad. And we get Eagles Cowboys this Sunday.
Ooh, that's going to be great.
Yeah, that's going to be good. Kyle, Jake Browning about to bring the roof down. If that happens, I will have to eat a lot of crow because that's not what I'm expecting.
I'm not either. Absolutely not. And it's a bummer because this game could have been, so good. But at least we'll have bets to sweat. So
exactly. That's the sweat out. So yeah, as always, thanks again for hopping on, and we'll catch you next time.